Hi guys, it's been almost 2 years since I've decided to post anything. My apologies, my life has been a bit busy. There's been a lot happening in my space, and so I didn't get a chance to talk. You know something? When I started the Driving with Sean thing, it was because there was just so much to talk about. But changed phones, changed just so much. And so I'm back. I'd like to start talking about a few things. And we're at a time when talking is so important. Today is the 19th of March 2020. The day that our parish, our churches, our mosques are all calling their leadership together to talk about what to do now that we've decided with the coronavirus we can't congregate. There's a challenge with this. It means that we as a society have to worship in our private spaces at home. And since we are the church is no longer going to be filled with the congregation worshipping together. And we're having to understand, what does that mean? Now, you know something? Many years ago, I left Cape Town in 1989, and the place I went to was Volksrust. And in Volksrust, we didn't have a community that we could go to. We didn't have a congregation that was big and tight, and there wasn't a priest there all the time. But I found others of my faith in that town, and we said, let's get together, and on Sundays we at least worship together a little bit. So I'm thinking, shouldn't we talk about ways that we can use platforms like YouTube, like Facebook, use platforms to be able to say, how do we as a community be in each other's homes on a Sunday, on a Saturday, over Sabbath, on a Friday, and say, let's pray together. How do I pick up my guitar and sing a couple of hymns and know that others are singing along with me? How do we create the space that allows community to exist online? And if we get it right, it would mean that somebody from your parish who has to work at a distance actually doesn't have to feel the distance any longer, because we're teaching each other how to be able to cover that distance quickly using technology. Yes, it does mean that we do need to start planning how to handle our data. Our performance on the internet has to be adjudicated to a certain extent. We've got to start saying, fine, how do we not consume all the bandwidth that's available so that we can use it for other things? And we have to talk about how do we publish the information. But wouldn't it be fantastic if we started talking about how to use the internet for worship, to be able to have a conversation, and then beyond just the scope of worship, for events. Today we're sitting with a situation that as of yesterday, my mother-in-law was living in a retirement village. We were told we can't go visiting. If we want to be able to take something around to her, to give anything, it's got to be given to security. So there's my mother-in-law literally living behind bars. I have her, she's got a warden, and she's not going to be able to come out of the gates, and nobody goes into the gates. We're living in a really interesting time, and we've got to then say, how do we take our grandmothers, our mothers-in-law, how do we get them to be able to sit around the TVs and become part of our society? How do we reach out to them and use technology to be able to worship with them? How do we be able to say that friends of ours, family of ours who are living overseas could join in a birthday party here using the technology that's available, either using Facebook live streaming, using YouTube live streaming, using GoToMeeting, GoToTraining, using whatever technology we've got. Between Microsoft's Teams and Google's Zoom, we've got the ability to be able to meet. So here's the challenge. This is the thing I'd like to get some conversation from you with. What are you doing? How do you manage to be able to meet with people? If you're working from home right now and you're going to want to meet with people and you want to be able to engage with 5, 10 people around a boardroom, and you wanting to be able to make sure that you get people engaged, are you doing it already? I know I have. I've had over the last week a couple of Zoom meetings. I use it regularly anyway. I use Skype regularly. But I'm beginning to ask myself, how do we make the bigger events? How do we worship together? How do we sing together? How do we party together? How do we make sure we celebrate life together while actually not having any physical contact? How do we turn the social distancing and say, let's manage distance relationships with our neighbor, with our mother-in-law, somewhere close by, but use the technology to do that? What are your thoughts? How are you planning to do that? I want to be able to experiment with a few things, and then maybe if I've done it successfully, I want to share it. Maybe the next thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to take this concept of driving with Sean and actually broadcast it live as a Facebook live event, driving from my car. What do you think? Would you like to be able to listen in on that? Tell me.